Hiya guys, welcome back to my channel here at Dragonairs Club, and in today's video I thought we'd do something a little bit different, our own DIY project. So we're going to be doing a spider terrarium, or Spiderium as I like to call them. This is one I've actually done just to make sure this design does actually work. Turns out it does, and I was quite happy with it. Gonna do some changes, but overall, yeah, very happy. So here we go. Okay, so here we have our empty Spiderium all ready to go. So we're going to be doing a very naturalistic design with this one today, using only real plants and substrate as well. So there will be some upkeep required for this. So we're going to be using some lime moss. This is going to be for the carpet of our Spiderium. Got some various sticks for the little spiders to climb around on. Also got a range of dried leaves as well, so we'll be crunching these in at the end. And on top of this, we've got some other mosses as well, so we'll be using some sphagnum moss. Two different bags, we've got wet and dry. So we'll be mixing these into our substrate for the little spiders to help keep that humidity up a bit more. Generally they like it about 50-60%. So we've got some worm castings here that's going to help keep the substrate nice and rich for the plants that we put in. Also got our cleanup crew as well in the back there, and we'll be adding that in at the end to help again keep the plants healthy. We've got two different types of ivy, so we're going to be quite creative with this. We're going to be using it to intertwine around our Spiderium to help give our spiders something extra to climb on. And then we've also got some Phytona plant as well, we'll be adding in at the end. So we're starting off now with adding our orchid bark. We're going to be adding a decent layer to this as it's going to be acting as our drainage layer. Next we'll be adding a mesh sheet which will be sitting on top of our orchid bark just to help with extra drainage for the next few layers of substrate that we will be mixing together. In this plastic tub, I'm mixing together cocoa fibre with orchid bark and dried sphagnum moss. We will also be adding worm castings and cleanup crew to this, but that won't be until later on. Once everything is in the tub, make sure you give it a nice good mix around. Sphagnum moss in particular likes to clump, especially when it's dry, so make sure everything's mixed to a good consistency and then proceed to add it into the Spiderium. At this point I'm looking at different woods from my pack to add in, so ideally what I'm looking for is smaller, bendier, more flexible sticks that I can kind of manipulate better to get more of a twist, and this just allows the spiders to move better around the Spiderium. Okay, so next up is the ivy. I was actually really looking forward to this part. I've not really done much with ivy before with different terrarium designs, so this was quite new. Actually had a lot of fun with it. Ended up twisting it around the sticks, and this just created more height and volume for the spiders to explore. Just meant that they could get to the top of the terrarium a lot easier, offers more hiding places, and generally just makes it look a lot more green and naturalistic, which is very, very me. At this point I realised exactly how much I actually really like ivy. It's so easy to work with, very easy to manipulate, it just bends perfectly and it doesn't feel brittle, so it was the ideal plant to use for this design. Also I really like the leaves. I've never really looked at ivy and thought, oh my goodness, these leaves are really pretty, but I actually did in this.
To get rich, to make a living doing this, or is it for you?
Following completion of intertwining the ivy around the stick, I decided to trim off some of the ivy leaves just to help make the whole Spiderium look a lot less dense. So this is the second ivy that I've picked to go into the Spiderium. I really like this one. I think the colour on it is lovely. It's quite different to the first one I've put in. Even the shape of the leaves is quite different as well. I'm going to be doing the exact same thing with the first, just like with the first one, where I wrap it around the stick that's at the very back of the Spiderium, just to give it a bit more variation. Okay, so this is where we are following finishing up with the ivy. I'm really happy with how this is turning out. Absolutely love it. It's such a beautiful naturalistic design. Hopefully the spider likes it. But moving on anyway, so we're going to start adding the Fitona next and jazzing this up a little bit more. Fitona is generally a really great plant to use for any sort of terrarium. It just seems to do really well in anything that has quite high humidity. It's also fantastic just adding that pop of colour. Next up we are adding our mosses. So the first moss is a lime moss and it's going to hopefully carpet throughout the bottom of the terrarium. The second is a carpet moss, just to make a nice comfy cushiony place to sit. Now that we've gone ahead and finished with the moss, I'm just going to go back with some orchid bark and segregate the plants out more, almost creating a natural wooden pathway around the cushion moss. And here we have a rose quartz rock that I got from a fish shop. Just decided to smash it into little bits in order to throw a couple in. I also think that the pink from this looks really nice against the pink of the Fittonia. Just adds that extra pop of colour in, but it's not too much. It's quite a muted pop. At this point we're pretty much finished with the interior design of the Spiderium, so we're going to be finishing up now with adding some worm castings, dwarf isopods and springtails, just to help the plants inside really thrive. And here we have the finished interior design, very happy with it. Just decided to give the entire terrarium a good spritz down, just to help the plants root in better. Alright, so we're going to move on to making the door for the Spiderium. To do this we'll be using magnetic tape. We're going to be cutting out equal lengths to go right outside the rim of the Spiderium. We'll also be gluing these down as well, just to give it some extra strength.
What is the end goal of all this? Like, to get rich? To make a life well living doing this? Or is it for you?
Okay, so we finished doing magnet tape A around the rim. We're now going to go back over with magnet tape B, and we are quite literally just going to stick these two magnets together right around the outside. Next we will be using the same mesh that we used as a drainage layer earlier in this video. We're going to be cutting out enough of it to cover the entirety of this door. We will start by glue gunning it to the top frame and then gluing it all around the edges on top of the magnets. This in itself is going to create a door that's got very good airflow, so we need to keep in mind that jumping spiders like a lot of cross ventilation, so this is really going to help with that. Once the glue has been given an adequate amount of time to dry around the frame, it's then time to add the magnets. So we'll be using two magnets, one at the bottom of the door and then one at the very top of the Spiderium. And here we have the finished Spiderium. Overall, very happy with how it looks. I love the naturalistic design of this one. I won't be putting a spider in straight away as they've still got some growing to do. I also want to give the ecosystem time to develop and the roots of the plants time to grow as well. But overall, very happy with it. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye guys!